What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Pedersen. I am joined by both members of the Mighty Whites podcast, Jack and Casey.
Yeah, mate.
Yo.
Well, we had to wait a really, really long time for this season to start.
It feels longer every year, to be honest. Even the short break last season where they didn't have enough time still felt too long. Even with the Euros. I get genuine withdrawal when the football isn't on.
Yeah,
it's not the same as support it.
It's fine. There's always pre-season friendlies.
Yeah, some of them have not been so friendly this year.
No, those bloody Spaniards attacking Pascal Strike.
Yeah, that Spaniard, Fekir.
Yep.
As always, for every Premier League season, there will be many, many fantasy leagues. But if you do want to join ours, make sure you go over to fantasypremierleague.com and use the code that is on screen now to join in. There's a whopping 33 people in the league. I know, record-breaking numbers.
Oh, mate, you are not built for marketing.
Yeah. Just like, say, come and join. We cannot believe how big a response we have had. I mean, they don't know in what direction you mean.
I still wouldn't be lying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but make sure you go on over, use that code to join our league. Before we do get into the thick of things for this episode, there's probably one little transfer that we should probably talk about before everything. I mean, it's not been covered anywhere else whatsoever. A little Argentinian player, not many people know him, but he's got a good goal-scoring record. He's joined PSG on a free transfer.
Yeah, it just goes to show that in the modern game, it's nice to know that romance isn't dead and you can have like a really good sentimental moment in football where one team's complete financial mismanagement, where they've got all the money in the world and they've managed to screw it up. But at least now, a club owned by a nation state that have just beaten the rap for all the financial stuff before, at least they can afford to give him £1 million a week. Oh, like it's gonna be very interesting to watch that squad, especially the first 11. PSG's first 11 now on paper looks like it should be one of the best teams that there's ever been. But God, I hope they don't win anything.
Nah, I'll tell you what, and here's a bad take, but it's an aging squad.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen those photos of...
You know, the problem with Real Madrid and Barcelona was that essentially they had these fantastic players and they just kept giving them too many long-term deals.
Yeah.
And then PSG have looked at that and gone, yeah, we'll take them off your hands on at least 2 or 3 year deals.
Yeah, but at least the world beater that's young is tied down. Because Mbappe hasn't got 1 year left on his deal.
He really, really doesn't want to sign for him for another year as well.
No. I mean, look, it's one of them. Barca have just made a complete bollocks of it, and there's going to be bargains all over if people use it properly later in the window. They're still having to get rid of people, so you'll be able to, at the very least, pick up good loan signings from them just so they can get the wages off the books. And with the amount of money PSG are spending on Messi, you'd assume that late in the window they're going to have to get rid of a load as well, so there's probably some bargains to be had there as well.
See, you say that about Barcelona. That I think the thing is, though, that once this European Super League gets up and running and people are paying hundreds of millions to watch them play either Real Madrid or Juventus every week, it's going to turn the whole thing back around for them.
Yeah, play each other 16 times.
Hey, I'm sure Inter Milan would love a bit of that pie at the moment.
Yeah, and Lille as well. Aren't Lille on the verge of being completely bankrupt? I think KC said this before, but I don't know if it was on the podcast or whether we were just in the pub or something. But we're on about how Peter Ridsdale gambled at Leeds and we didn't get in the Champions League. and it screwed us. But Barca, there was nothing to gamble on. It's not like they missed the Champions League and this happened. Even if they'd have won every single game for a full season, won the league at a canter, won every game, won the Champions League, won the Copa del Rey, won the Super Cup, everything, they would have still been screwed.
Yeah.
So, like, that's mismanagement on a level that's almost impossible to understand. It's like if Lille are that knackered and it turns out Lille might be, like, nearly going bankrupt. They won the league last season. They did everything they could. So, what did they spend? What they can't possibly have gambled on something.
Yeah, all that money they're paying Jose Font.
Yeah.
I bet the new camp has got the finest fish tanks you've ever seen.
That's where they keep Samuel Umtiti now.
But yeah, it does leave the door open for quite a few exits for PSG. Some probably loan deals. A lot of them will be people leaving that are on big money contracts, such as Julian Draxler, who will probably be looking for a way out of the squad now. I mean, he was on the fringes in the first place, but with people like Wijnaldum coming in, you'd expect him to start looking elsewhere. There's two defenders, two centre-backs that I'd look at. If any low-table Premier League side could get them on loan, either that Diallo or that Kehrer would be great signings.
I'd have thought someone in Germany will try and buy Kehrer because he's good enough. Then I wonder if Southampton could talk Diallo into joining on loan. Now Vestergaard's going to Leicester, because that other Diallo that's at Southampton is his brother.
Yeah.
So
if I was the Diallo at Southampton, I would just be picking up the phone. I wouldn't even say a word. I'd just be shaking my head.
Yeah.
The other one, actually, the right back they've got, I think he's called Dagba. Quite a young French right back. He'd be someone to look forward to in a few seasons' time, because he looks like he's got quite a bit of potential, and he's not going to get a lot of first team action in that PSG squad.
It's ridiculous because of all these players PSG have signed on, well, quote unquote free transfers. I know that they'll cost ridiculous amounts of money. I actually keep forgetting they've signed Hakimi as well.
Yeah, and he's the only one they've actually paid for.
Yeah, it is just absolutely insane, that team. But I don't think they're going to win the Champions League, and that's what this is all for.
Yeah, it'll be funny when they crash out the quarterfinals to Borussia Dortmund.
Nah, finish third, drop into the Europa League, and then get beat by West Ham.
Jacko, open that Wikipedia page and see who's in it again.
Yeah. No, that was I knew it was in the Europa League. I didn't know who was in the Conference League.
And I still don't.
Yeah. Roma.
Yeah. Mourinho would love that. Just to be, I won this first.
I know, but we're not doing it on here, so I'll mention it now. On our podcast, Ali's, when we did our season predictions, and one of them was the Conference League. And as soon as I saw Roma in it, I went, oh, that's so Mourinho to win that. It's nailed on.
I'll tell you, if they win that and beat Spurs in the final, that's some top-class shithousery.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. Oh, like penalties and Dele Alli's the only one to miss.
Yeah.
Danny Rose. Danny Rose will miss. I know he's not there anymore, but he'll definitely miss. Luke Shaw's going to miss one.
I was just going to say Mourinho picks up the mic after and goes, fuck you, Luke Shaw.
You fat bastard. So, on to the Premier League 2021-22. We'll start with the actual table, and then we'll go on to the little after bits that we've got. What we'll do is we'll do the point system, which is normal of 10 points if you're exact, 5 points if you're in a place, minus 10 points if you're 10 out, And because there's 20 teams in this, minus 15 if you're 15 out.
Fair enough. I wonder where you could get an idea for a scoring system like that from.
Nah, any shit Leeds United podcast. So
that's harsh on any one of the 45 Leeds United podcasts there are out there now.
But not you.
Oh no, that definitely included us.
Yeah.
So we'll start with as bottom three, the three to get relegated. Does anyone want to take the floor for the first three, or?
Well, I can. I published an article on Through It All Together, which is a Leeds United website, which is on Twitter at THRU. It's all LUFC. Go give them a follow. I was editor up until recently, but I've had a daughter now, so I'm a bit busy. But still, go read it. So I've got all of mine in front of me and stuff, so I might as well go first. Bottom at table, Norwich City. 19th, Watford. And 18th, because I'll keep saying this while ever it's the combination of Mike Ashley and Steve Bruce, Newcastle United.
I have two of those three. I've got Norwich bottom. I've got Watford 19th. And I've got Southampton 18th.
Jack, you'll actually have to help me out with mine, because the one bit I did forget is which order I had the bottom two in.
Luckily, I opened it before we started. So, KC, you had Norwich 20th.
All right, good. That is good that you said that, actually, because as was the case yesterday, I have still written Bournemouth in at 19.
Yeah.
That did happen yesterday as well. So, yeah, Norwich bottom, Brentford 19th, and Southampton 18th.
Yeah. We didn't do all the positions on our pod, by the way. We just did top four, bottom three.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, Ryan Bertrand leaving, Vestergaard going to Leicester. I just don't think Southampton, and I mean, obviously the main one of Danny Ings going to Villa. I know Adam Armstrong's a decent striker, but a strike force of him and Shea Adams.
He was is a decent championship striker. That is what we know about Adam Armstrong.
The other thing with Southampton, because I was tempted myself to drop them further down my table. The amount of talk about Ward-Prowse leaving makes me think there's something in it. I'm not saying they're going to accept a bid, but I think his agent must be pushing that he wants out. Because it goes away and then it comes back over and over and over again. So, and if they lose him, that's another massive blow.
Yeah, and I can see that happening. I don't see it happening this window, but I can see it happening in January if things are starting to slide.
Yeah, I don't think there's a great deal to say about Norwich and Watford. Like, this is what Norwich do. They'll not spend much. They've got some money. They'll go down. They'll probably come straight back up again.
Thing is, on paper, I like Norwich's starting 11. But then after that, if a few injuries and they're knackered.
Yeah.
Obviously, Billy Gilmore's a decent midfielder. Rashika as a winger/striker to play alongside Pukki is always good. They just signed that American from Werder Bremen as well.
Josh Sargent.
Yeah, he looks like a decent midfielder as well.
Well, Sargent, I mean, he's spent a lot of time playing up front, so I think that's where he'll end up. Like, because the Bundesliga's Vi season started last weekend. I think he's got 2 in first couple. But when he's played there, he's done all right. But his record in the Bundesliga was something like 4 in 28 or something. It wasn't abysmal, but it wasn't great.
Yeah. It's just their defence that kind of lets them down. I can't see Grant Handley playing 38 games of Premier League football this season and making himself look like a world beater.
No. But
I can picture him playing 38 games of Premier League football. Not the second part.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing with him is how good Billy Gilmore looks at the end of a full season in Premier League.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good loan move for him, that.
It is a good loan move. Character building, I think, is how you put it.
Yeah, it's not typically the sort of loan you want for your more creative players. Like, I understand having goalkeepers and defenders go down to clubs that are going to be sort of relegation fodder, because I do think it toughens them up a bit. It'll be interesting to see how much of an impact he can have on a game playing for Norwich when they're battling away at the bottom.
Well, it's also a very good prep, joining a team that's battling and struggling to win games. Because obviously he's going to play international football for Scotland, so it's good prep for that as well.
Well, he's had a summer preparing for that.
No, play CDM in the Premier League.
Sorry, they beat England, my bad.
Play CDM in the Premier League. Definite centre-back at international duty.
Yeah.
And Watford, other than Sarr, they signed Josh King, who, again, I don't see doing much for him. But other than Sarr, I don't see any of Watford's squad really being a shining light to be able to keep them up.
I mean, who else have ever signed Danny Rose on a free? He's all right. They signed Ashley Fletcher for God knows why, because he's got the world's best agent, apparently. It just seems like it's weird, because that squad looked absolutely stacked in the Championship, because it's stacked with low-end Premier League and high Championship players. But once you go up and don't overhaul that squad, you've just got a load of players who aren't that good.
That got you relegated the first time.
Yeah. We'll talk about probably quite a few of the teams when they do get mentioned. I know, Jack, you mentioned Newcastle, and Casey, you mentioned Brentford. But my next three in this list go 17, 16, 15. I've got Brentford, Brighton, and then Palace.
For a second, I thought you were going to say you had Bournemouth in there.
Brentford, Brighton, Palace, they're all perfectly reasonable at this level. Like, I've also got Palace in 15th, actually. Some exciting signings, but Vieira's a bit unproven, and I think they'd snap your hand off for that right now. They'd absolutely kill for 15th. Mine was 17th Burnley, 16th Southampton. I think they'll just stay out of it, and then 15th Palace.
I've gone with 17th Newcastle, 16th Watford, and 15th place Burnley. Who I just think with Burnley at this stage, because of the real lack of investment that's kind of going on in that first team, to any major extent anyway, compared to even a few teams around them. It's only because I think there's quite a few teams that are significantly worse or more poorly coached Newcastle than them. But another mediocre season for them at best.
Yeah, well, for a long time I had Burnley in the relegation zone, and it is my entire reasoning for having him 17th instead is Sean Dyche. I just think he will probably keep him up. I think if he walks, because these new owners for them appear to be awful. At some point, I think Dyche is going to quit, and if he quits any earlier than sort of February, then I could see Burnley going down.
Yeah, investment's always been a struggling point for Burnley. What was their most exciting signing recently? Chris Wood, Vidra maybe, who was all right
Charlie
in
Taylor.
The Championship. Yeah, that's about it.
The actual most exciting one was, can you remember when they signed Stephen Defoe?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh, that's a change in tact. He might be," and it just didn't work.
Yeah, because his ankles were broken.
Yeah.
Joe Hart, when they had him, not playing.
Yeah. No, Joe Hart were broken.
By the way,
mentally,
that's a fun move. Joe Hart going to Celtic.
Yeah, kept a clean sheet on the second game. They won 6-0 in their second game. They drew their first game.
Oh, is he actually playing at Celtic?
He played in that one. Yeah, because they won 6-0, and the Japanese lad they've signed, whose name escapes me, scored a hat-trick. But no, they got beat by Hearts, didn't they, on opening day 2-1?
Oh, yeah, not a draw. Because Rangers also lost on their opening game, and it was like, I think that was the first league game they'd lost since the season before.
Yeah, obviously we're getting sidetracked here, but did you see how much of a bollocks they made at Champions League qualifier?
Yeah, 2-1.
Ahead against Malmo down to 10 men, and they threw it away.
Rangers to win the Conference League.
But they'd be competitive in their Premier League. Always remember.
Yeah. Anyway, now you're not in the Champions League. Sell us Ryan Kent.
Sell us Ryan Kent, you shits.
Yeah. Brighton, another team. They just linger. They're just there. They always will be one of those teams that people go, they will get relegated eventually, and they just keep clinging on.
I don't think they're going to be that high up, but you'll be surprised at how. I don't think they're going to shock people and suddenly be challenging for top 7, but I have Brighton a lot higher than most people do.
Yeah.
After last season, like you say, I know we've still got a bit of time, so it'd be interesting to see if in these first couple of games they can actually put away some chances and just keep playing like they were last season.
Yeah.
Then upper lower mid table.
So 14th to 12th. KC, do you want to start us there?
Yeah, I've got 14th place, Crystal Palace, then Brighton, then Aston Villa.
Jack?
My 14th is Brentford, then 13th Wolves, 12th West Ham. That's quite low for West Ham, I know, but I don't think they're going to cope well with having the Europa League to contend with. I don't think the squad's big enough, and I think they'll have too much pride to just stick the kids out in Europe.
I don't think if you're West Ham, you can turn your nose up at European football, even if it's Europa League.
You can't, but I think it'll make them struggle. Can you remember the first time Wolves were in it? They had a really bad start, and then they pulled it back. I think they're going to be a bit like that.
Loads of teams have that. I even remember. I mean, we struggled with it. I think one of the first time. I think when we went on that run to the semi-final in 2000.
Yeah.
I think early season we really struggled with the Sundays.
Yeah, and it happened to Burnley as well that one year that Dyche got them in. They just started horribly, and I think West Ham will do the same.
That's because all 15 players had to travel.
Yeah.
That's it, and they couldn't really change anyone. But yeah, I think if you're West Ham, you've got to give it a go, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is 100% why I've gone 14th Newcastle, 13th West Ham, 12th Burnley. Especially with Lingard not being in that side as well, because Lingard was pretty much central to most of the good things that happened for West Ham the second half of the season. I think that'll be a big gap that they'll be missing.
And the other thing is, they still don't have a striker. The only striker, the people who it'll be Antonio playing as a central striker, and he's very injury prone. So at the minute, who would they play as a central striker? Unless they've got some young kid that I don't know about. They'd have to play like Ben Rama as a false 9 or Jared Bowen. They're not really strikers. Yeah. Yarmolenko maybe, but he's permanently injured as well.
Yeah, he's had his one good Euros.
Yeah, I am assuming that West Ham are going to spend a decent chunk of money on a striker. I just don't know who it'll be.
Patrick Schick.
Yeah, they do. They do love a check.
With a 1 in 9 goal, goal ratio, it'll be wonderful.
Well, actually, I doubt that he'd go because he'll go somewhere better. But why they haven't just chucked all the money they can at Tammy Abraham?
I thought I'd read Roma had agreed a deal in principle with him, but I don't think they could agree the personal terms.
Yeah, he'll go somewhere.
That's the problem that they're having with Joe Willock, isn't it? That Arsenal accepted a bid for him, but apparently Joe Willock not fancying that one.
doesn't want to go back and play under Steve Bruce.
I wonder why.
It's one of, I know it went very well for him, that loan move, and it really did do his reputation the world of good and everything, and it'd be a good signing for Newcastle. But if you looked at Arsenal's squad, if you're Willock, you back yourself to force your way into that team if you stay.
I would if there was a reasonable manager in charge.
So we'll round off the top 10. We'll just do 11 and 10th. My 11th and 10th teams are Wolves and then Everton.
God, there's a lot of Everton fans won't be happy with that, but I mean, I have them quite a bit higher, but my 11th is Brighton. I think that they were so much better than they showed last year, and I think they've kind of got to pull it back a bit. And in 10th, I've got Leeds, and I'd snap your hand off.
Oh, you'll fucking love me then.
I just, we have pretty much the same squad. We have a better left back, but slightly less depth. One place lower. I think that's about fair.
Yeah. Mine actually combines both of yours because I have in 11th Wolves and Leeds 10th.
I genuinely think you're selling yourselves a bit short there. But then again, you've had many years of being burnt by Leeds United, so
yeah, I was going to say
it's ingrained to be negative.
And say spend 25 years going to Ellen Road and see how negative you are. Well, not so much negative, because that's not a negative prediction. In your second season, finishing 10th is good if that happens. But we are almost I reckon 90% of the Leeds fan base are pessimists.
Yeah, I think for us, you've got the combination of one having an excellent first season as a whole and a good finishing position, combined with having a run-in where we drew with Manchester United, drew with Chelsea, drew with Liverpool, beat Manchester City. We, generally finished on a fairly strong note. There is definitely cause to be optimistic, and there are a number of people who have already gone to we kick on for Europe this season. But as you said, Jack, we've got Junior Firpo in, who is an improvement on at left back, but outside of that, it's the same team. It's going to be a case of just where Stuart Dallas plays at any given week and who will partner who in the middle of midfield. But unless someone else comes in, there's very little changes about our team. And to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think we needed to drop any big money getting someone in for the sake of it. I was hoping for a bit more in the way of back, substitutes and players that are going to come on. But yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, the most important signing was officially confirmed today. Bielsa signed his deal. That's every year from now on. That's the most important deal every year.
Yeah. To be honest, I think there wasn't. I was looking at your squad from last season, and yes, left back was the major thing. It was the place that you needed to strengthen, especially now Alioski's left. So Firpo coming in was a great signing. But other than that, it was just you needed a few better players to be on your bench, in my eyes anyway.
We lack a little bit in centre mid. Like Stuart Dallas won our player of the year, and absolutely rightly so. He was outstanding. But if you're gonna if say we were trying to kick on this season, you'd want someone who is a better footballer than Stuart Dallas.
I don't believe such a thing exists.
Yeah.
No, I think for me, I'd love for us to be able to go into a game where if Calvin Phillips is suspended or injured, and we just have a defensive midfielder that takes that role. And I know he's not going to be as good as opposed to, we'll move Robin Koch into midfield, so then Pascal Stroik can come into defence. Or we'll move Luke Ayling across and Jamie Shackleton will drop in. And I'd just love to, Calvin Phillips out, so X is going to take his place.
Yeah, that is the problem with our squad. When we get an injury, we quite often have to move 4 players to accommodate it.
Do you think this season there's a chance, if you do end up with Llorente is injured, if you do end up with another centre-back injury, you see Luke Ayling going into centre-back and you see Cody Drammer coming?
There's a chance he'll play some games. If we got some injuries right now, Shackleton would play right back. If it happened right now, it might even happen against Man United on Saturday. Because I don't think Calvin Phillips is going to start because he hasn't had a full pre-season and Bielsa's an absolute stickler for fitness. So I think Koch will play DM. So I think it'll be Ayling and Strauch at centre-back because Cooper's not had a full pre-season either. And then I think he said Shackleton's fit, so I think Shackleton will play right back. But later in the season, I think Cody Drammer could get some games because he's very good. It
does seem like a very Bielsa thing, though, as someone who doesn't just put kids in there to just go, yeah, Cody Drammer, let's debut at Old Trafford. Let's just do this. and then the kicker, he never plays for us again.
Like what, the Robbie Gotts?
Yeah. not that I'm bitter or anything.
Named on the bench, what was it, like 38 times in a row, never came on. Started at the Emirates, then just shipped out on loan, never seen him again.
Well, mind, he was good in that game as well.
Yeah.
So, Jack, 9th to 7th.
In 9th, I've got Aston Villa. I actually like their business, but whenever you lose a big talisman, you're never going to... It's very rare it goes perfectly, and that's 2 places ahead of what they did last year. 8th, I've got Tottenham Hotspur. That is very low, but I think even if Kane stays, he's not happy and ain't as good. I think Nuno didn't do a very good job at Wolves last season. I just don't fancy him at all. And 7th, Everton. I think they had a decent squad last year, and I always back Rafa Benitez to do a good job. Always.
KC?
I've got West Ham in 9th, Everton in 8th, and Ben White's Arsenal at 7th, as I shall henceforth refer to them. Yeah, West Ham, like you say, it's really tough because I don't want to say the drop-off will be that much, but they did really drop off towards the end of the season as well. So, yeah, I might have been a bit optimistic with that one. As Jack said, I really like Rafa Benitez. I think he's a good manager, and I think he's probably someone who will get the best out of that group of players. And there are some very talented players in there. And then, Arsenal have Ben White, so they're better than they ever were.
Yeah.
The only reason I've put Everton in 10th is purely based on their signings so far this summer. Of Damari Gray, Andros Townsend, and Begovic, it doesn't scream of we want to move up the table.
Now, what I would say is though, if it works out, 1.8 million for Damari Gray has the potential to be an absolute bargain because he is good enough to make a difference in Premier League games. It's just whether they can use him properly.
Well, in pre-season, they were playing him as the out-and-out striker, seeing as Richarlison was away on Olympic duty and Calvert-Lewin had been away with the England squad.
Yeah.
And that is definitely not the best place to play in.
No, that's true. Have they not got Moise Kean yet back?
I think he's injured. I think if I remember rightly, when I looked when you guys played Everton in, I think that was last weekend. I think I remember seeing that he was injured at the moment.
Ah, right.
That would make sense. It would be very unlike Rafa Benitez to not use an actual striker at striker. But my 9th to 7th, I've got Arsenal in 9th, Villa in 8th, and Leeds in 7th.
Right, that'll do, and we will call it there. Thanks very much for joining us.
I will say I'm kind of surprised at you two being as optimistic with Aston Villa as you have been, just because, and you and me, Jack, spoke about this before, you don't see many teams that sell their best player, and even though I look at the majority of signings they've made and think individually, they are all good signings. I don't see them improving on last season with all these changes. I've got them 12th, so I don't think it's going to be a big difference.
Yeah. For what it's worth, my reason is they finished 11th, but that's because they had that few months where Grealish was injured.
So that group, but without Jack Grealish.
Yeah, I think that the team they had last season, if Grealish stays fit all season, I think comes like 7th or 8th. So it's like having the team without Grealish that's like a 12th, 13th place team, but then you add in Buendia and Bailey and Ings. And Twanzebe, I think, could be a really underrated signing from because I quite like Twanzebe. So
I've always liked Twanzebe cutting in off the left wing and trying to kill him.
Tell you what, he's got a cracking penalty there.
But yeah, I think they will be a worse team than they were with Grealish in the side, but better able to cope with injuries. And I think so. To be honest, if they're anything from 13th to 8th, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
I was looking at their potential lineup for next season, their potential starting 11, and the only person that I was looking at in their side and going, they probably need to look at changing that in January, is that Matt Targett that they've got playing left back.
I quite like Matt Targett. He's not a world beater, but I think he's a good left back.
But he looks like the one player out of place with their starting 11. Like, I really like John McGinn in midfield.
Yeah.
Buendia, obviously, is great. They've got that Bertrand Traore who had a really decent season last season, and I didn't think he would because he didn't do much when he was at Chelsea. I think it was Chelsea anyway.
He had a load of work permit issues at Chelsea, though, didn't he, and stuff? It was a bit... I think he was one of those... I think it wasn't he one of the transfers that they got in a bit of trouble for when he came in?
Probably. They probably signed him, when he was 15.
Yeah.
And obviously Leon Bailey providing for Danny Ings. I reckon he's going to be goals for this season.
I think there's going to be a lot of times when Danny Ings doesn't start, because like against anyone who you'd say is a top 6 side, I don't think Danny Ings starts because they'll want Watkins on to pressure.
Oh, see, I reckon their formation changes so that Watkins is playing on the left, doesn't play as an out-and-out striker.
They might play him wide, but he's much less effective out wide, is Watkins, than he is up top.
Yeah. Again, Arsenal, I think they've got an all right side, but I think even after signing Ben White, I still think they're a centre back short.
Well, to be fair, everyone thought they were about 3 centre backs short last year.
They were the side that, in my head, when I saw PSG probably need to loan a few players out, when they could really use that Diallo on loan.
They've needed centre backs for like 12 years.
Yeah, when did Sol Campbell leave? Since then.
Yeah, it's why I know that they want him to develop and they want him to guarantee play every week, but it's why I can't understand him loaning out William Saliba again. If you need a centre back, I think they'd be better off just playing him now. And if it takes him a year to reach his best, just have him for a year. He's still,
and that's why I don't understand why they didn't do it last year.
No, same.
Why would you commit to these players that you know are a bit of a liability in someone like David Luiz, when if you're not that concerned about having, yes, I know technically he's probably a better footballer, but he's also absolutely liable to drop you in it. So if that's the case, why not develop the younger player who's costing you considerably less every week? And if he makes a mistake, we're getting him into the team and getting him that first team football.
The problem is you play youngsters for Arsenal, and I know I'm going to tarnish a full fan base here with one brush, but their fans really do get on top of their players, and I don't know if it's the best thing for a young centre back if he makes a mistake.
You say that though; they only do that over social media. There's no one in the ground.
There's plenty of people there. They just don't make any noise. the last thing I'll say about Arsenal is the one thing that I am really looking forward to this season is how well does Emile Smith-Rowe do? Now that it looks like they're going to make him the guy.
Out injured 6 months. I'm calling it. Give it 3 weeks.
Yeah, they gave him the number 10 shirt when you're our playmaker. 6 assists last season.
Yeah, but it isn't just that. He did look really good. And
that's also 6 assists from December as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Leeds fans will always go to bat for Emile Smith-Rowe because he scored the goal for Huddersfield against West Brom that guaranteed our promotion. So Leeds fans will always go to bat for him.
He's not only an excellent footballer, he's a fine young man and a scholar.
So, KC, 6th and 5th.
Ooh, 6th and 5th. I have gone for Spurs in 6th. And it says here Scum in 5th. I believe that's Manchester United.
Yeah, I may as well say mine now because I believe that we'll probably have similar reasons. I've got Arsenal 6th and Man United in 5th. I will just read from my article on Manchester United, which is very brief. 5th, Manchester United. Really good squad, and they've added Jadon Sancho and probably Rafael Varane. Don't rate the manager, but they will have genuine hopes of challenging for this title. However, Leeds bias and all that, they won't get in the top 4.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I will copy and paste that answer. Thank you.
Yep. I think the first 11 is as good as anyone in the league. The squad depth is probably 3rd after Chelsea, and then obviously Man City were first by a decent amount. There's a really decent chance that they'll challenge for stuff, but fuck them, 5th.
Yeah, I was entirely petty when I put them there. As we will get onto shortly with Chelsea, I tried to be that petty, but it was really hard to be that petty with them.
So 6th, I've gone Spurs, and 5th, I've gone Liverpool.
Ooh.
That's a big shout.
I've only gone 5th because pre-season, I know he's not played pretty much for a full season. Van Dijk's not looked 100% yet. And coming into a season with your main centre-back not looking 100% fit and a new centre-back to this league could be a recipe for disaster for the first couple of weeks. I don't think their midfield has got as much depth as what it did 2 seasons ago. Losing Wijnaldum is a massive thing. Thiago seems to pick up quite a few injuries. So creatively going forward, you are relying on Salah, Mane and Firmino and Jota. And for me, last season, it didn't look like Mane and Salah really played that well together. So in my eyes, if I was Jurgen Klopp, in my eyes, I would have been looking to sell Mane this summer to play Jota instead.
I mean, I think they'll comfortably be in the top 4, but well, you'll see later where I've got them. But in my head, they're 3rd favourites.
Oh, so the 3rd?
Nope.
That'll serve you right for trying to use some logic.
Mm-hmm.
And Spurs I've got in 6th. Again, same reasons, centre-back wise. Losing Alderweireld's massive. Romero's a decent centre-back to sign from Atalanta, but I don't see him settling in the Premier League quite well at the start and playing next to Davinson Sanchez, who's always got a mistake in him. Is going to be a huge issue for them. Serge Aurier at right back. I can't even think of if they've got a second right back.
Well, in theory, the one great thing for Spurs about Nuno taking over is that Matt Doherty might be really good. Because I forgot
he was even there.
He was really good at right wing back for Wolves under Nuno, so it might suit him.
I mean, the reason I've got Spurs in there is, I think if nothing else, I think Nuno is a very likable coach and a very likable guy to have around, which is a huge shift from obviously Jose, who just seems to become more loathable with every passing season. And I think having that, like having someone who I think is probably going to be somewhat more nurturing than that, with that group of players, with or without Harry Kane, I think they will be better than they were. But I still think they could be better than that.
So, top four. Jack, do you want to start us with your top four?
In fourth, I've got Leicester. They should have got in the top four last season and made a mess of it. I think that they won't make a mess of it this year. What I've seen of Patson Daka, I think he's really good. And as Vardy does finally start to drop off, I think he's like the perfect guy to bring in as a replacement. Samare, by all accounts, was excellent last season in the title-winning side. Ryan Bertrand's a solid addition as well. I just think that they won't fall apart this year. Third, I've got Chelsea. Chelsea are the second best team in the league, but I don't like them very much, so I've got them third. Chelsea really should be up with a genuine title challenge this year. The only thing I thought they were missing last season was that the strikers weren't scoring goals, and they've just confirmed like 97.5 million for Lukaku, so I think he'll score a load. Second, Liverpool, who I think are actually the third best team. We've talked about them plenty, but I think that those getting Van Dijk and Gomez back and having Ima Konate, even if it takes a few weeks to settle down, I think they'll be good. And Man City winning it because they were brilliant, and then they've added Grealish. The only criticism of Man City is you look at them at striker and think they are lacking a proper out-and-out striker that'll score a load of goals. They'll still score loads of goals if they don't get one, because they always do, and they can play Sterling as a false nine or De Bruyne as a false nine, or Grealish could play there. There's a load that they could play there, and they've got Gabriel Jesus as well. They can really push the boat out. And then if they do sign Harry Kane, then I'll be saying they're going to win it by 12 points.
Fair enough. Casey?
My fourth and third are the same as Jack. Leicester to finish fourth, who, like you say, I just think they've made some fantastic signings. I think they are a team that's improved, got better depth. You also, you mentioned Patson Daka. I thought when he got given some responsibility last season, Kelechi Iheanacho actually proved to be, somewhat valuable to them as well. So they've got three excellent options up front now. In what is a fairly experienced team, if you're adding Vestergaard to that defence as well, another very solid unit, if nothing else, at the back. Chelsea, same reasoning. I think that's an unreal squad, but I don't like Chelsea, so they will finish third. I am also waiting now at this point. At what point does Timo Werner go out on loan to Crystal Palace? And how long? And is it either next season or the season after that Lukaku also goes out on loan? Because they have had a terrible time buying strikers for about 5 years now. And then they sold Giroud as well. And then my top two, I've got Manchester City in second and Liverpool winning it. It's hard to argue anything anyone will say about Manchester City. Take out the striker, you have goals and assists coming from all over that midfield between Gundogan, Foden, De Bruyne, Grealish, Sterling. You've just got so many options. It's amazing how many players you go through, by the way, when you're thinking of who's going to play up front if Harry Kane doesn't go there, before you actually say Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah.
Which I don't think does his confidence any good, but he's a man who looks consistently worried anyway, so you'd never know. Liverpool, I just think if you looked at the way they finished last season, given they had a threadbare defence that, with stop gaps in there, the attacking power they have is unreal. Mo Salah was just absolutely outstanding in what became, for a large period of time, a very mediocre team. So if they can keep that attacking power going and even have just a solid defence, I think they're a team that's got a very good chance of competing for the league title.
Solid reasoning. So my top four are Chelsea fourth.
Hey.
like I said, they have got an unreal squad. They have always struggled when they've signed a striker. Ever since Drogba left, they have struggled signing a striker just to replace 4 goals. I mean, he even goes back before that because, I mean, they signed Shevchenko and it just didn't work for some reason.
Kesman,
Chelsea.
Crespo.
Adrian Mutu.
That was a different problem with him.
Yeah, that was more of a Robbie Fowler problem.
That he loved grass.
Although, legally speaking, a Mark Bosnich problem.
Yeah, but I've just got this feeling that they're going to focus on trying to defend the Champions League, and the league form is just going to slip away. I also have this horrible feeling that Chelsea are going to have a few major injuries this season, and that sounds sinister as fuck, but I've just got this weird feeling.
And say, I don't know how serious it is in the end, but they had one last night, didn't they? With Ziyech's shoulder just popping out in the most innocuous challenge.
Yeah, but I'm talking about people that are probably going to play first team football for him. And for some reason, Ziyech just doesn't. Third, I've got Leicester. Like I said, I mean, I'm just going to reiterate what everyone said. Daka looks great. Samar's a great signing. Vestergaard's great. I was going to put them further down the list after Fofana broke his leg in pre-season. But I think signing Vestergaard probably plugs that hole for the time being until he's back fit. Second, I've got Man United. I couldn't put us down to win the league. One, because I'm not blind. We've still got problems. And City are just such a better squad on paper. But I really do like the signing of Varane. I think that's a quality centre-back signing. Personally, I would have looked elsewhere. But for 35 million, I think is a great signing. Jadon Sancho on the wing, again, another great signing. We probably needed a defensive midfielder for a bit of cover, but I do really like McTominay. Van der Beek has played in centre defensive mid in pre-season for us and has looked quite good. Even captained the side at one point, just to give him that bit of confidence.
Before no one could it all away again.
Yeah, before we send him on loan.
Can we have him on loan? It'd be a great number 8 in a Bielsa system.
Pogba, I
was going to say, I'm a little bit disappointed about with Marcus Rashford being out injured. Actually, is I would quite like to have seen over a period of time how Pogba fits into that system. Then, because obviously we've seen games where they operate more where Man United play a bit more defensively when Pogba gets moved out to the wing and kind of plays, that sort of semi inside forward role. Whereas it'd been quite interesting now that Sancho's there to see if that's still the case, if that would still happen, or if he would be kept in a central midfield role.
Well, it's weird that you say that because we've been linked with Trippier all summer. We've been linked with Trippier for fucking ages. And we've outright today said we are no longer interested. We are not signing Kieran Trippier. And it's because of how Diego Dalot's played in pre-season. The thought is still there that Wan-Bissaka will be a right-sided centre-back and will play 3 at the back with Dalot and Shaw as his wing-backs. But it means that we end up either having to drop to 2 up top or 2 in midfield. And I can't see 2 in midfield of Pogba and Fernandes trying to cover the full midfield working.
I'd love to see you do that.
Ideally on Saturday.
You do that from the first. You do that from the first game of the season until January, and you'll be 11th.
Honestly, if you do that from the first game of the season to the second, I'll be quite happy.
Yeah,
it would make for a very open game at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah, it would.
The one thing I would say is you bring up Varane, and I find it hard to believe that he's still only 28. But when I looked at your team last year, I did quite often say, you've only got one centre-back, though. and I just don't rate Lindelof. But you turn that into Maguire and Varane, and that does look a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it became more apparent. Yeah, you had one centre back, and then he got injured at back end of the season. We had no centre backs, and we didn't win a game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think maybe Rashford missing at the start of the season will be a problem. Obviously, Cavani's not been in pre-season. He's only just come back off holiday, so he's going to be on the bench. He won't be starting against Leeds.
Yeah, but he's weird. I bet he's fine in a week.
Oh, I reckon he gets, 25 minutes against you?
Yeah, he's one of them weird, almost freak athletes, is Cavani. He just seems to have limitless energy.
Yeah. And then obviously City, top. No need to go over it. You started listing off strikers, people who can play at striker. I mean, even if they don't sign Kane, I think they sign Lautaro Martinez. So I don't think Jesus is their striker anyway.
Yeah. They're just ridiculous.
I'll tell you what they're missing is Jack Harrison.
By the way, that's another one on that. Genuinely, when you think how well he did last season, 8 goals, 8 assists in Premier League from wing, you don't often get that and English for 11 million quid.
No, bargain.
Absolute bargain.
Yeah, but if one squad needed to fill out with any English players, it wasn't Leeds.
It wasn't Burnley.
So, moving on to the other predictions. First one, Golden Boot. Now, I actually quite struggled with this because I didn't want to go with the two that have been chasing the Golden Boot for the past 3 seasons. But the logic is to pick one of those two. It is to pick Kane or Salah. Has either of you two picked Kane or Salah?
Yes. I haven't, but that is the sensible thing to do.
I was sensible. I picked Harry Kane because I think whether he stays at Spurs or he goes to Man City, that man is scoring a shed load of goals.
So, Jack, who have you gone with?
Well, I think Harry Kane ends up staying at Spurs, has a miserable time, he's pissed off, so he only scores like 20 or 21 Premier League goals. But I'm just all in on it working out as much as I don't want it to. I think Lukaku. At least now, unlike when I picked him on our podcast, at least now he actually plays in the Premier League because he was still at Inter when I said it.
Well, you've got the other advantage as well that you hear about a lot of the time. He's coming in, he knows the club.
Yeah, that's what really screwed up my pick because I really wanted to pick Lautaro Martinez,
but then
because I still do think he's coming to the Prem, but I think missing those first few weeks are going to be an issue for him winning the Golden Boot this season. Maybe next year I'll pick him, but I'm actually going to go with Son.
Ooh, because if he's freed up,
yeah, because if Kane goes to City, Son becomes the talisman for that team. And I think him, Dele Alli, Lucas Moura, and I quite like that Vinicius they've got as well. I still think they can strike up a partnership, and Son being the main threat for him, I reckon it just means more goals for him.
The problem is, who set up 60% of Son's goals last season?
Yeah, Dele Alli can do that.
And racked up pretty much all of Harry Kane's assists.
Yeah.
It was just... Harry Kane doesn't set goals up for others. It's just Son.
I did forget to say, like the table predictions, if you do get the Golden Boot, bang on, 10 points. If the person you pick comes second, you get 5.
Cool.
I'm not going to do minus points because that seems quite harsh.
Yeah,
if your player does not score a goal.
I'm saying now, and I'm saying this as someone who has never actually had to compile the statistics for our predictions. But once you start adding minus points here, you're just making a rod through your own back. I am saying that though as someone who lost a lot of points in our predictions.
Yeah.
And it did come back to haunt me.
Well, the only reason it came in is because you didn't lose any points for predicting Sunderland to get promoted from the Championship the year they came bottom. So from the following season on, I brought in minus points because he actually won the predictions contest despite predicting that, and I thought that was monumentally unfair on the world.
So, moving on to the Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and Manager of the Year. Put them all in the same thing because no, I could not be asked making 3 different banners for it.
Those are 3 of my favourite Spanish words.
So I'll start you off with Player of the Year, Bruno Fernandes.
It's not unreasonable.
He's just a glorified penalty taker.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he can also take free kicks, apparently.
Not when Ronaldo's on the pitch, he can't.
This is probably the thing I've struggled with most, to be honest, by quite a long way. And he did enter my head, but I can't pick a Man United player. I just can't. Because I think he's brilliant, even though he will miss some time with injury and stuff. De Bruyne.
Safe shout.
Yeah, mine is also relatively safe as well. I've already mentioned it, Mo Salah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Young player, I reckon we probably all have the same. I've gone with Phil Foden.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to back your team.
Is it Ilham Melier?
Sometimes you just have to say, I don't care what the logical pick is. No, Pascal Struijk.
Yes.
I think he's gonna start at Man United. I don't think Liam Cooper's gonna get his place back all season, and I think he's gonna establish himself as a really good defender in Premier League all season. So I'm just gonna. I don't think for a second, even if he does all that, he'll actually win Young Player of the Year. But I don't care. I'm picking him.
And then he leads Indonesia to glory.
And then Manager of the Year, Casey.
For finally getting Leicester back into the Champions League, I'm going to go with Brendan Rodgers, who is, for someone who, when he left Liverpool, was something of a joke, despite the fact he got them as close to winning the league as anyone in decades. It just turns out is such a fucking brilliant coach.
Yeah. If David Brent was actually what he thought he was. that's Brendan Rodgers. And that's who I've got as well. Based on my actual predictions, with where I've got Brentford, Thomas Frank might have a shout, but I don't like him. So Brendan Rodgers.
Well, I've gone with one that will please both of you. I've gone with Bielsa.
If he wins it, he'll turn it down.
He'll give it to Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who's... Well, I was about to say, who's the manager you most respects in the division, apart from Pep?
Yeah.
Who?
Weirdly, you know, from the way he talks about him, Sean Dyche.
I'm trying to remember. There was one of the... I'll tell you who'll end up giving it to. It's like Grant McCann. Because he was so complimentary of Grant McCann when we tonked Hull, who were on their way down, plummeting out of the division. You know, when you just like no, but they are a terrible team, though. Like, it wasn't Grant McCann's fault, but...
Where's Carlos Corberan? Is he still at Huddersfield?
Yeah, he's still at Huddersfield.
No, he's not doing a good enough job.
No. For what it's worth, Alex, if your prediction is right and Leeds do come that high up, then there's a decent chance he'll win it.
And I'm gonna make a really bold claim of the top 6. You will only lose one game against the top 6 all season, and I reckon that's us on the opening day.
I'm going to say now, I think that's a terrible shout.
Yeah, I'll hold you to that. If you're right, I'll buy you the beer myself. But no, like we are able to get results against good teams, but it's not going to happen every time.
I was going to say we only actually won one of them last season.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying you're going to win them.
I mean, one of them, I don't know if you remember, we did lose 6-2.
Yeah, and we were 2-0 down after 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, but to be honest, when you are playing Lionel McTominay, it's kind of hard not to be 2-0 down after 2.5 minutes.
That better not happen on Saturday because we're going.
No, because this time we're going to switch it up. It'll be Fred.
No, it won't.
So, the final prediction. 3 teams to come up. Weirdly, I've put mine in the order of winning it, promotion, and then playoffs. I'm guessing neither of you two have got that.
I've got them in order, if you want them.
I do not, but I'm willing to commit to that since one of mine is an absolute fairy tale.
Mine, well, fairy tale is probably the wrong word, but I've got one that people wouldn't expect.
Right, okay, well, I'll just do mine then first. I've got Bournemouth coming top, Fulham second, and I've got Cardiff coming up in the playoffs.
Oh, I hope you're wrong. I don't like Cardiff.
When I look through the Championship, because you don't just want to look at the teams that have just been relegated, but outside of that, there wasn't many that inspired me.
Right, I know that this was said the year we won it, and it was sort of true to an extent the year we won it, but it's even more the case now. It looks a weak league.
Yeah.
Compared to like 5 years ago when it was really good.
Jack, Casey, either or?
I'll let you go first, Casey, because I need to message my sister something.
Okay. I've got Bournemouth to win it. West Brom to come second. And then as my absolute dream to finally make the return, Coventry.
That is more of a dream than mine, but it would be...
Told you. It's an absolute fairy tale, but for everything Coventry have gone through, from being kicked out of the ground twice and somehow make it back to the Championship, I basically want Gordon Strachan to take over and then just Gary Mack in midfield and get them back in, get back to the Premier League.
Yeah.
Steve Grizovic in goal.
Yeah, I have the same issue over looking at the league and thinking you've got to end up with promoted teams. So I've got Fulham winning it and West Brom second. I think that they've just got too much for rest. And then winning the playoffs. I don't know why. Luton.
You know what? After the meteoric rise last season to mid-table.
No, basically, every time that they, it's one of those weird things where I just keep looking at them and thinking, oh, yeah, I think that they'll get a result there. And I think they'll get a result there. And I think they'll get a result there. And other than the brief bit where Nathan Jones left, the second he came back, they started being good again. Like, I don't even think Nathan Jones is that good. I just think he suits them. And I really do think they'll get in the playoffs. And then once you're in them, you never know.
I will say of Bournemouth and getting them in there, I know it's based off one game. I didn't watch them in the League Cup. I purely watched the opening day of the season. But I did find that Bournemouth were playing nicer football than Fulham did in the Championship under Scott Parker. Now, I know that's based on one game versus an entire season or a couple of seasons. But I think the average age of his starting lineup was like 23 and a half. It was a pretty young team, and that's with Leif Davis not in the team yet either.
Yeah. Alex, for what it's worth, I'll just say, because this is what we do. For purposes of getting minus points and stuff, I treat playoff winner as third.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. To be honest, for the 3 teams that are coming up, it is just going to be 5 points, if you're correct, for each team.
Cool.
Can't be asked trying to figure out minus points for that.
Fair enough.
But that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. The Premier League is back tomorrow because for some reason, instead of starting with, the Premier League winners, we always now start with Arsenal versus someone. So it's Arsenal versus Brentford on the opening day.
I fancy Brentford.
2 teams battling for mid-table.
I seriously, I think Brentford are going to win.
Yeah, Brentford
so
1-0. Pontus Jansson.
Oh, it'd be brilliant.
Now they've signed Christopher Ayer because, as much as I like Pontus Jansson, it is funny that he's finally got to the Premier League, and I don't think he's going to play loads. I hope he does. I hope I'm wrong.
I tell you what, Southampton must be looking at that situation thinking, "Oh, bet we could get Pontus now."
Yeah.
Yeah, to go back into Championship with.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that'll do us. We will be back next Sunday to cover all the games from the opening day of the Premier League season. You want to make sure that you catch that episode and all the other great stuff. Make sure you go to @WTBdotcom. That is on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. We will be going live 7 p.m. on Sunday, back to the usual time. None of this. We will do it when we can be asked kind of shit. Back to a schedule. If Jack and Casey are here, you will see.
I'm
It is
working.
yet to be known.
I'm working next Sunday.
I'm probably available.
Yeah, but make sure you go to Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook and go to @WTB.com. Make sure you follow that. That's where you can find us, and that's where you can find all the other fantastic shows live from the Buzz. And make sure you go over to Twitter and follow @Mighty Whites Pod, which is Jack and Casey's Leeds United based podcast. They're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for their live streams. And then you can get the audio version everywhere other than Acast. Because fuck Acast.
Yeah, in all likelihood, we'll be live tomorrow evening doing a more in-depth look at the Man United v Leeds game. And probably getting very, very excited because other than one friendly, we of course haven't been to a game in like 17 months. And I've never seen Leeds play at Old Trafford. And I might as well enjoy it, even if I'm quite pessimistic about it.
I mean, it's fair enough. Enjoy the occasion. Watch this fucking
Shut up, it's
draw.
not our cup final. Fuck off.
It's like
enjoy the occasion.
It's not our cup final. It's like a cup semi-final, maybe.
No, because it's fine. It's opening day of the season. Nobody knows who's on form.
I'm not here to be patronised by a legacy club supporter.
Anything could happen. That's why I'm holding out for a draw.
Deal.
Right, that'll do us. So I've been joined by Jack and Casey.
In a bit, I'm off to the pub.
Oh, so am I.
See you there. And we'll see you next Sunday. In a bit, guys.